Right. How would you feel if your boyfriend, M38, of 9 months, purchases you a home and says it's for you? She's female, 34. My boyfriend of 9 months purchased a home and said he bought it with me, quote unquote, in mind, as we have talked about a future and wanting to have a family. We've had many serious talks about our relationship and we've both met each other's families. He's previously lived in a home for several years and has always thought about changing his living situation and also wasn't sure if he wanted to stay to live in the same city. To my surprise, he went to see a house without me knowing and put in an offer. Long story short, his offer was accepted and he's made comments about how he thought about this house for us eventually. I'm not sure how to feel about it. I'm happy he got a house he really likes and at the price he got it for. But I feel we're not there yet to move in with each other. Also, in no way I have a say in the decision of the house or the location, so I don't mind to say he got the house with me in mind is fair. He hasn't considered the commute for me to travel to work or anything that he would be considered specifically to actually having me in mind. He bought this home 1 block away from his previous home, as he will be renting out that home for now, so this home, by default, is a great location for him overall. I'm not sure how to feel about his comments and his expectations with me and the house. Additionally, I'm a student and the closing of his house happened to be the very busiest week of exams and assignments I had due. We had conversations about how I could not help him move and that there seemed to be an understanding. That week consisted of working on a presentation, studying for an exam, and working on a paper. Any other free time I had invested in self-care, such as working out and doing yoga. However, on one of those days, I posted a selfie where I was proud to have accomplished so much in the morning before going into work, and he got extremely upset about this. He went on to say I didn't care to help him move and that I didn't want to help him move essentially, and made a huge deal about it as he worked with he bought his house with me, again, quote unquote, in mind. What do you think of this? So, just repeating the interesting parts. He's 38, she's 34, she's a student. They've been together for 9 months. He bought a house.
With her in mind.
With her in mind. And I think the title's a bit misleading because he said purchased a home and says it's for you. It's not exactly saying it's for you, but he's saying you were part of the thought process. Anyway, like in his part of his thought process.
Yeah, I suppose, like apart from stating the obvious, this is a very early relationship. Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing. The weird thing about talking about her moving exams and taking a photo and she's complaining about that and putting that in the post, I already have red flags going up about the quality of this relationship. That you're not just asking Reddit for some advice on maybe a weird situation that you're thinking about, you're also saying that you're not happy with him about how he behaved with something you did. Now, regardless of the right or wrong of that particular situation, she's already made the story bigger, which makes me think, wow, if this is bothering you as well, why are you thinking about moving in together so early anyway? Because 9 months is very quick, right? But that aside, if we were to remove the kind of end bit, I think it's interesting. I think a couple of factors that I think is important is she mentioned certain things about this is, convenient for him, not convenient for me. This is his second home. He's not even selling the other one, he's renting the other one. I think an important thing to understand is, when is she going to be in a position to buy her own house? Because if she's going to be in a position, she just about to finish college, maybe she's going to be ready to buy a house in 5 years. Maybe she's going to be ready to buy a house in 6 months. That is very significant for me when it comes to how he has chosen. If he knows it's 5 years, then for me it's like, no, he's gone. He wanted a second house. He's gone and got a second house. It was important that he's got a significant relationship that he's considering very important to him, and he kept you in mind. Nothing more, nothing less. He kept you in mind. Now, I think there's other important facts about like where she said where she's going to work and convenience and stuff. I think we need to know more details to know that. I think she's getting too bogged down in this idea of if I bought it with you in mind. I think he's maybe trying to be sweet there. I don't think it's that. It might not be ideal, but I don't think it's that deep, essentially.
See, I think it started out as something kind of sweet where he like bought a house. I think he's not considering her at all. In the implications of what it is to buy a house. He hasn't asked her to move in and then...
But it's his second house. I would counter it's his second house. And I think the important thing is...
Yeah, but for him that's an investment, right? Mm-hmm. That's an investment in his own future and all of that stuff. But in the context of it's for you... Or
I never said that.
It's with you in mind. It's with you in mind. He's basically saying, in the future, I want us to move into this house specifically together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think originally it's kind of like, oh yeah, well this is something I want to do for my partner, and then the more I read the post. The further it kind of seemed to be more of a controlling aspect to it. I'm not sure if it's purposeful, but he was like, oh, well, you're not helping me do this, but I bought this house with you in mind. It's like, oh, you're not helping me move, but even though this is a house that I'm buying for us.
Yes, if he's going to continue to kind of hang it over her, then you're absolutely right. If that particular example becomes a theme, then it's important. But then that's less about buying the house, more about just a control thing. Where the house is going to be the tool that is used for a sense of control. I think what's interesting is that idea of, we might move in together somewhere else. That's where it becomes incredibly important of the conversations they've previously had about her position of buying a house. If she's 3, 4, 5 years out from buying a house, then she can choose to live in that house with him, and then when she's in a position, then they can go and look to buy a place together after they're married or whatever. However, if she's within 6 months, then I have a much bigger problem with this idea of I bought this house for you, because then she's going to feel like, oh my word, I'm having to move into this house when actually I'm quite close to buying my own. Yeah. And I wouldn't have chosen this area.
Yeah. And also, he didn't tell her about it. I think that's a massive, huge issue. Buying a house is also it's an incredibly long, hard process.
But remember, he's 34 as well. I think there's
38, yeah.
He's 38. He's trying to build up his portfolio. Again, I think there's really interesting differences between the houses. The one he's in now already, he might have just bought the second one that's a little bit of an upgrade. But see if it's somehow I don't know, it's now an actual, suburban house, 3-4 bedroom house, compared to the previous one was a 1-bed flat. Again, that has other implications to me. So there's a lot more of those details I think we really need to know, and then we can make a better judgment.
But what I meant by it is that it's a long, hard process, and you're basically hiding that from your partner for long enough that you're surprise, house to get, I got a house with you in mind. I think it's a bit strange to not kind of at least sense check that that's something that would be okay for your partner, because 9 months is a very short amount of time.
Yeah, no, I think.
But
I
it's
think
an amount of time where
you suddenly drop it in.
It's by the way, I've got this house.
Yeah, it is a weird. I think the one caveat I have that is the age, and if the houses are incredibly similar, maybe the location's slightly better or whatever, then it could just be look, I was going to be buying another house anyway. I've gone and bought it. I'm renting this other one out. This one I kind of thought a bit more about you with this one, but by the way, in 3 years, we're buying another one.
Yeah. So there's an edit here just for context.
This is good. I can edit more detail.
So the house, so number one, the house was bought entirely with his money. I have zero financial contribution to this. I think that's pretty clear in the post,
I presume so, yeah. Thank God. I did worry at one point. I was like, please tell me he's not gone and like done fraud to take out.
It's like he's actually like gone through her savings account. Right.
I took 20k out of your savings because I thought you would want a house with me.
Yeah, like I don't understand why you're so mad.
Yeah.
Right. 2, we never talked about a specific time frame when I would move in. It was a discussion about how it's something we both want eventually. I think that's fairly important that they hadn't discussed a timeline. Right. Number 3, we did talk about how I would contribute when that time comes, in which I mentioned expenses such as hydro, utilities, internet, etc. I also made it clear that in no way was I expecting a free ride and not contribute anything. That's just not my character. And then the last part is the selfie that was posted was a close-up shot of my face with sunglasses on, enjoying my coffee. I'd made a list of accomplishments of the tasks I did that day and wrote in this picture, meal prep done, worked out, so it's like a little check actually.
Sure.
Meal prep check, workout check, coffee check, sunshine check, great way starting my day so far. Yeah.
I think that adds, to what you said about if the house is going to become used as a tool for control. I think that's very problematic, but I think that says more about the relationship than necessarily about him going to buy a house.
Yeah, and also like...
So it could be about a car, or it could be like, oh, you're supposed to help me, clean my car today, or something, right?
I think this is also like a thing, so this is more of a personal opinion, but when you move house... you shouldn't expect people to want to help you move.
No.
You should be like asking them and saying them, hey, can you help me move? That'd be really nice of you, blah, blah, blah. I'll buy you pizza or something. I don't know. Like something like that where it's like, or like it'll be a fun day, whatever.
I think...
If you just expect... And now you should want to help him move.
Yes.
You should want to help him move. If you don't...
And there's a key point here. Did he ask you to help him move? And you were like, no, I'm so busy. And then you sent a picture of you doing... No, she said yoga, gym, and was it meal prep?
Meal prep, workout, coffee, sunshine. In the morning.
I mean, again, like, it seems a bit weird for him to go mad at, right? There maybe is a small chance that maybe she's being a bit unreasonable, but it does still sound pretty bad. Right. It's hard to know.
So I'm going to just read a relevant comment before we move on to the update.
Oh.
So there are multiple red flags going on here. 1, if he truly envisioned the two of you living together in this house down the line, he would have included you in the conversation or invited you to house showings. I think what he really envisioned is having a partner, not specifically you, but a partner. 2, the fact that he became upset when you posted about your productive morning is very worrisome. You being smart to prioritize your education and self-care/mental health. It takes roughly 30 minutes to an hour to work out. Did he really expect you to take that limited time to drive out, pack 2 or 4 boxes, and then leave? That's ridiculous. That part of the comment is quite funny. The fact he tried to guilt trip you when he was upset by throwing in how he envisioned the house with you in it is quite manipulative and downright juvenile. If these are the only red flags you've seen in this relationship, I would suggest counseling. If he's serious about building a future with you, then he should 100% be open to this. If he tries to dissuade you from talking to a professional, then you know he doesn't care about self-growth and, in turn, growing with you. I don't agree with that comment.
I agree with kind of what they've said, but I don't think... Like, I agree overall with what they've said, but this idea of, like, if they don't say they want counselling or improvement, that's a problem. No.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, if he ain't...
After 9 months in a relationship, you should not be needing...
If you need counselling with a 9 month relationship, I think just shows the relationship's not very good.
No, you should be able to at least somewhat sort the problems out, and if it's a recurring issue, then counselling might be... If he keeps buying houses...
Yeah. It's like...
If he buys you another house, then maybe it's a counselling issue.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not... just because he doesn't. I mean, the key thing is you need to make him, if he realises he's not been ideal here and he needs to get better, then that's fine. And as long as he's happy to kind of recognise that and improve, then fine.
But yeah, right. Are you ready for the update?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm really nervous. No, it's okay. Basically, so wait, let me read you the title because I know you like a good top line.
Go on.
Update. How would you feel if your boyfriend M38 of 9 months purchases a home and says it's for you? F34. We broke up. So, basically, we got into a fight and I blew up with resentment about many things. Wasn't right, but I just feel I could not talk to him as I kept getting interrupted mid-sentence, denying everything I was saying and accusing of being something I'm not. I also realized when we talked about the reality of me moving in with him. I mentioned that I could sell all my furniture, but I would want and need to keep my desktop computers / desk. His response to me was that he wouldn't let me have my own room for that and to get a laptop instead. The man has an entire room dedicated to his sneakers. When I also mentioned the commute and how I'd have to pay for parking as I take the subway to work currently, not a big deal in comparison for paying for the mortgage, but still an expense, he said that there could be days that he could drive me and then followed it up by, quote, "But you don't ever drive me to work." He did not buy the house with me in mind at all. It's clear that it is his house and he wasn't going to share his space in any other way besides how he wanted. We had plans for me to come over on a specific day, but had also fought. I admitted and apologized that I could have put my anger aside and came to help. However, I wanted reassurance that he understood that I have my own priorities and we discussed this. He cannot throw it in my face and tell me I did not meet his needs. I'm not saying, of course, that in any case I would not drop something for my partner in an emergency. I do not feel that he understood this. And when I tried to explain this, he said that I was, quote-unquote, retracting my apology. I just kept feeling constantly misunderstood and having to defend myself in this relationship with other issues as well. And that was the end of that. Better to cut it off sooner than later, and before taking the relationship to the next level and commitment. It definitely sucks. And I showed him this thread. Dangerous. I showed him this thread in which he, of course, was upset and said he felt betrayed. He called me, quote-unquote, entitled. He thinks I'm saying he bought it for me, which I'm not saying in any way. Well, you did put it in the title, but okay.
Yeah,
he's missing the point.
There is a very big difference between I bought it for you
and I bought it with you in mind. We'll discuss after. He's missing the point for this post, in which I think he doesn't want to take accountability for not acknowledging he's wrong for throwing it in my face. The main point was guilt tripping and using the quote-unquote I bought it with you in mind response. Because clearly, even if the commute was not in mind, currently I live in an expensive area, so to not buy a house here is a valid point. The ability to actually live with him was not with me in mind. He really absolutely did not care about me as a person and my needs, or even can understand what a relationship is. He skimmed through all 565 comments and screenshotted the best ones that validated him and sent them to me to prove he's a quote-unquote good guy.
I mean, I always have to give two views with kind of, people always talk about moving in and how quickly should you move in. I've always got I've got one real big view on this, really, that kind of breaks into two scenarios. I always think try and move in with your partner quite quickly, because essentially you're forced to have really tough conversations very, very quickly. And when you actually move in, you're forced to very quickly adapt to each other or not. It's either going to work or it's not, and from like a point of view of like time invested, you're suddenly going to realise this is the best thing ever or this isn't. So you can actually kind of speed relationships on a bit. Now I'm kind of talking about quite commercially here in a way, but
yeah, a little bit.
But like in that view of like, I think this is a classic scenario that happens when two people talk about moving in. They've got a really nice, fun start to a relationship when actually the chips are down, when things are starting to like maybe align to actually moving in, they realise they're not the best for each other. Sometimes that can happen later on when they've actually moved in. I've got a very close example that's happened in my family, and I've got other examples with friends, but essentially it's the same, right? When you eventually move in together, tough questions have to be answered, tough stuff need to be answered, and in this case it's not worked out. And I think based on everything she said, they shouldn't be together.
I think I don't agree fully with like you should move in as quickly as possible, but I do think that if you haven't moved in with a person, you don't understand who they are, and it's not your fault, and you can try and pretend that you know exactly who this person is before you move in, or you could wait until you think you know that person well enough to move in. But the reality of the situation is most of the time when you see someone for a day or when you're hanging out, and even
a holiday,
even a holiday, you're seeing them at their best or their worst if they call you when they're having an issue, but you don't see them at their medium. And their constant medium is where you will find that you struggle the most, because people show you who they are constantly. I for example, I chat a lot, I talk constantly, and I cry a ton. And that's not a very easy thing to deal with. And I think that personality-wise, it's just something where it's like my constant medium is not the easiest thing to deal with in the world, and it doesn't mesh with other people's personalities very well.
Yeah, I think there's that idea of when people kind of don't want to be with someone else, right? And I'm not like, if you're a time you're like, oh, you know what, I just want to be with myself. If you're living with someone, you still have to be with someone.
Yeah.
Like, you can only go so far away from them, right? So having that idea of like getting to that moment where you know each other best, I think works really well. I mean, look, there's obviously obvious things when it comes to like moving in, like if geography doesn't work, jobs don't work, money doesn't work. There's a whole lot of reasons to like leave it. Like I remember hearing one example of one relationship where they said they preferred to live in different places within the same city. And then what they wanted to do is they then wanted to live in different cities, and they actually preferred living in different cities than living in the same city. Which I remember just being like, what? That is crazy.
Yeah.
So I think there's nothing wrong with being forced to live apart, but it's always that idea of, as the relationship goes on, the kind of magnets to be pulling you together are getting stronger. They should be getting stronger. And you yourself shouldn't be fighting it unless you've got one of these big reasons that it can't work. Because eventually, presumably, you want to live together, and you don't properly know each other until you live together.
Yeah, I think also my father says it best, and now this is very much against what a lot of people will say for lots of different reasons, but it's important for you to know who you're marrying, and this is like very specifically for marriage. If you are going to marry someone, I would recommend before you marry them that you live together for at least 6 months, because that is how long it takes for you to kind of get used to a living situation with someone.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I agree completely.
And there's lots of little habits that people do that are like really, really different from one another. And I think also you as a person don't realize how messy and dirty you are until someone else points it out to you, or you have to point it out to someone else.
It can be the weirdest stuff. It can be, what order do you put your knives and forks in the tray?
I don't like the order. Ours are in.
Do you put the knife in first?
No, you
into
put
the dishwasher. Hang on, into the dishwasher, or do you have the knife facing up? What way do you point the toilet roll when you put it in the thing?
Yeah, you put it wrong. You're a psychopath, and the majority of the population agrees with me, by the way.
Well, hang on, no. You do it that the toilet roll is on the outside.
Yeah, but you put it the wrong way around. You put it so it faces the wall. Yeah, but then you can't rip it properly.
I don't mean to. No, I get told off at that. once when I went to uni, when I was sharing a flat with a bunch of guys, they told me off for that and I did change. I thought I changed. Did I still not do that?
No.
Oh.
Well, sometimes you do, but most of the time you don't. And then I'm like, you put it the wrong way around. And then you'll be like, no, I didn't. And then last night you tried to justify it to me and I was like, rip it properly. And you like pulled it down and it just like kept going.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that's one of the things that's interesting where you talk about, moving in. There's always these little things that you kind of eventually need to sort out. I mean, we obviously haven't sorted it out. We've been living together for 2 years, obviously. Still got some
I don't think I think it's one of those things where, like, you also have to tolerate some stuff that people do where it's, like, not things that need to be changed, actually. Because for the toilet roll thing, it's it's a 3 millisecond fix. All I have to do is, like, take it off, put it back on.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. And actually, you wouldn't have even noticed because, as you say, you've changed your ways somewhat. But yeah. Anyways, weird toilet paper tangent, but there you go. They broke up. I think probably for the best. It's never pleasant to break up, but sometimes gotta hurt a little to heal.
Yeah.
Right.